The stars above were quiet that night, but Marcus Hale knew silence in deep space was never true silence. It was the kind that made the skin crawl, the kind that meant something was hiding, waiting. Marcus was a cargo pilot, nothing more, nothing less. He had run these shipping lanes for years, hauling supplies between colonies and outposts. He liked the calm of it, the steady rhythm of routes mapped 1,000 times, but on this trip something felt off. The navigation computer flickered. Once, twice, then died, leaving only static. Marcus cursed under his breath and tapped the controls. He was still on course, near the edge of a dead sector where miners once pulled ore from the asteroids. No one lived here anymore, too far from trade, too empty to matter. As he sat back, a faint sound reached his ears through the comm system. Not a voice, not at first, just a broken pulse, faint as a heartbeat. His brow furrowed. Signals did not travel well here, not unless boosted. It was too weak, too distant to be normal. Then it shifted into words, crackling, broken. Help us, help, please. The voice was small, trembling, and alien. Marcus frowned. Signals like that were often traps. Pirates used fake distress calls to lure in haulers, strip their ships, and leave the pilots dead. But something about this voice stopped him. It was too raw, too desperate, too real. He turned his ship toward the signal against his better judgment. The closer he came, the worse the readings looked. A small vessel adrift, powerless, floating in the dark, its hull scarred as though it had been hunted. Marcus lined up with it, his scanners showing no weapons, no threat, life signs weak, fading. Inside for a moment he hesitated. If this was a trap, he was flying right into it, but he could not ignore that trembling call. He muttered to himself, damned fool, Hale, you're going to regret this, and guided his ship in for a dock. The airlock groaned as it pressed against the stranger's ship with a hiss of decompression. Marcus stepped through, flashlight in hand. The corridor was dark, thin frost coating the walls, as though the heat had been gone for days. He pushed forward, calling out, no answer. Then he saw movement, small and hunched in the shadows. When his light found it, he froze. A child, not human, skin pale, blue eyes wide and glowing faintly with fear. The child stumbled toward him, whispering in a language his translator struggled to catch. Please help, they'll come back, they'll kill me. Marcus knelt slowly, setting down the light, his heart thudding. This was no pirate trap, this was something else. He reached out gently. It's all right, kid, you're safe now. He carried the child back to his ship and sealed the airlock behind him. For a few moments the world was quiet again, but deep down Marcus knew it would not last. The child shook, shivering, muttering words, half-formed fragments of terror-hunted killers, empire broken. Marcus tried to calm them, feeding warmth into their small hands, but his mind raced. Who were they? What had he just stepped into? He did not have to wait long. The sensors screamed, alarms blaring red across his console. 3 warships had just entered the sector, sleek, sharp alien designs that dwarfed his cargo hauler. They were not here for trade or patrol, they were here for blood. Marcus barely had time to think before they locked onto him. His first instinct was flight, but his ship was slow, too slow against war vessels. Still he slammed the engines to full power, the hauler groaning as it lurched forward into the asteroid belt. The child clung to him, eyes wide with terror. He spared one glance at them, then focused on the controls. If you've dragged me into something, kid, it better be worth it. The warships followed, weaving with deadly grace, their weapons firing blasts that shook entire rocks apart behind Marcus. Every instinct screamed at him that this was suicide, but he was human, and humans had a talent for surviving where others fell. He pushed deeper into the asteroid field, dodging, weaving, using the chaos of floating stone to shield him. One blast missed by inches, scorching his hull. He cursed, shoved the throttle, and banked hard right. The warships closed in, hunters smelling blood. Then the child cried out a word, not in English, not in any language Marcus knew, but the ship's translator caught fragments. Empire air, hunted, kill. Marcus's heart stopped. Air. The child was not just anyone, they were someone important, someone the Empire wanted dead so badly they sent 3 warships for cleanup. The pieces snapped together and fear twisted into anger. Marcus realized he had just lit a spark that would set the stars ablaze. He cut power to minimum, sliding his ship behind a massive spinning rock. The warship scanned, searching, weapons pulsing light across the asteroids. Marcus stayed still, breath held. The child watched him silently, as though waiting to see if he would run or fight. Then the scanners swept past the rock and Marcus slammed the throttle, reversing hard. The hauler burst out from the shadow and shot downward beneath the lead warship. Before they could adjust, he fired his mining lasers, crude, weak, but enough to tear through the unshielded vent of one of the engines. The warship spun off balance, colliding with an asteroid and exploding in a bloom of fire. The other 2 ships wheeled around, fury burning. Marcus ducked behind more rocks, dodging weapons that shattered stone into dust, each shot closer than the last. But he was moving now, instincts alive. Every moment of his quiet pilot life burned away, replaced by something raw, something dangerous. He looped around another cluster of rock and sent a cloud of metal cargo containers floating free, then angled his ship through the mess. The pursuing warship did not stop in time, tearing itself apart as it collided with the debris. Marcus grinned grimly, but the smile faded when the third ship locked onto him, weapons ready. This one was smarter. The child looked up at him, voice trembling. They will not stop, they will keep coming. Marcus glanced at the fading shields of his ship, his limited weapons. His odds were near zero, but he felt something ignite in his chest, a spark he had not felt in years. He had always been a pilot, a drifter, nothing more, but now the universe had crossed him and he was not going to bow, not tonight. He dragged his ship low into the densest part of the field, warship fire crashing behind him, the last alien vessel keeping on his tail. Marcus whispered to himself, just a man with a cargo hauler and a bad attitude, what are you thinking? Then he slammed the controls, rolling his ship in a dangerous spin between two massive asteroids. The warship followed, too close, too fast. Marcus fired his last mining charge directly into the asteroid ahead, splitting it apart in a cascade of burning rock shards. The fragments slammed into the warship, cracking shields, shredding hull. It burst apart in silence, flames consumed by the void. For a long moment nothing moved. The silence of space returned. Marcus sat back, chest heaving, sweat cold on his brow. He had done it. 3 warships destroyed by a single human hauler pilot. It should not have been possible, and yet it had happened. He turned to the child whose glowing eyes studied him, not with fear anymore but with something else, respect or Marcus shook his head. Don't look at me like that, kid. I'm no hero, I'm just stupid enough not to die when I should. But deep down he knew everything had changed. By saving that child he had sparked a war that would hunt him across the stars, a war he had no choice now but to fight. Out in the black empty void, unseen by Marcus, signals carried the news of what had happened, whispers spreading faster than light across systems. 3 elite warships destroyed by a single human, name unknown, fate uncertain. The whispers carried one warning to all who listened. Do not cross the human. The legend had begun. Marcus Hale had learned one truth about the galaxy: it never forgot, and it never forgave. Ever since the day he rescued the alien child and destroyed 3 warships, his name had spread like wildfire, whispered in back alleys of trade stations, muttered in fear by smugglers, and cursed in the council halls of alien powers. The words were always the same: do not cross the human, but instead of keeping him safe, those words painted a target on his back. He knew it was only a matter of time before they tried again, and he was right. 3 weeks later, while refueling at a lonely outpost near the rings of Saturn, Marcus picked up a distress signal, a mining crew begging for help. The call was urgent, desperate, almost identical to the one that had led him to the alien child. His gut told him it was bait, but the miners spoke of collapsing tunnels, trapped families, suffocating air tanks running out. Marcus sat in silence, staring at the flickering light on his console. The child, now recovering in his cabin, looked at him with those glowing eyes. You already know it is a trap, don't you? Marcus nodded. Of course, but if there's even a chance it's real, I can't just sit here and watch them die. Against every shred of reason, Marcus changed course, the old freighter Defiance roaring to life as he angled toward Titan's Edge, a remote mining colony sitting on the border of safe and unsafe space. He could already feel the tension growing like static in the air. Something was waiting for him out there, something patient, something deadly. When the station came into view, he slowed Defiance to a crawl. The outpost looked battered but not destroyed. Lights flickered weakly across its surface. No ships docked nearby, no rescue crafts responding. It was too quiet, too staged. Marcus kept scanning over and over, but no heat signatures appeared. Then a faint whisper crackled over the comm: help us, still alive, please hurry. The child stepped closer, their small face unreadable. They are lying, Marcus, but not about everything. Someone is there. Marcus frowned. Lying or not, he had to know. He locked the ship into position and began a slow, cautious dock. As the clamps latched onto the station, the entire place felt wrong. Air pressure stable, lights running, but the halls too clean, too orderly, like someone had prepared a perfect stage for a single actor. Marcus advanced, weapon in hand, flashlight cutting through the dim corridors. Each step echoed against the metal floors. No voices, no screams, just silence. Then a sound behind him, the airlock slamming shut, locking tight. Marcus cursed, spun around. Too late. The comms on his wrist flared, and a cold alien voice spoke. Marcus Hale, the human who defied an empire, the human who destroyed our fleets. You are clever, but tonight your luck dies. Out the viewing port, Marcus saw them, 3 massive alien warships sliding out from behind Titan's shadow. They had been waiting, cloaked, engines silent. The distress call had been nothing but bait, and he had walked right into it. For a heartbeat, Marcus felt the sharp edge of fear. These were not pirates, these were elite hunters sent only for him. Their ships bristled with weapons glowing red against the darkness. They could cut Defiance apart in seconds. He knew running was impossible, fighting was madness, but surrender was death. He rushed back to the control deck, heart pounding. The child stood watching without a word, their glowing eyes filled with quiet trust. Marcus powered the engines up, shields rising weak but alive, the enemy ships locked on, targeting systems flashing across his console. 3 against 1, and his ship was a patched-up cargo hauler. Marcus muttered to himself, just another bad day, hail, make it count, and slammed the throttle. Defiance roared forward into Titan's asteroid field, rocks as wide as cities spinning endlessly through the void. The hunters followed tight in formation, their precision flawless, each movement practiced like predators on a hunt. Marcus ducked left, weaving between two spiraling boulders. Plasma fire streaked past him, shattering stone into molten shards. The hauler groaned under the strain, every turn threatening to tear the hull apart. Marcus clenched his teeth, sweat running down his brow. He had flown in fields like this before, back when he smuggled ore and avoided patrols. He knew how to survive, but this time he was not alone. One mistake and both he and the child were ash. He cut engines, suddenly letting inertia drag him sideways between two tumbling rocks. The lead hunter overshot, its weapons blazing too late. Marcus fired back with mining lasers, weak but precise, scoring a direct hit on an exposed vent. The alien ship staggered, sparks spilling from its flank, but it did not fall. Instead it pulled back, forcing the others to close in tighter. They were learning, they were adapting. Marcus grinned bitterly. They want me boxed in, let's see how they like the opposite. He slammed Defiance downward, engines screaming into a dense cluster of asteroids, weaving tighter and tighter until even the hunters hesitated. The rocks spun violently, colliding, shattering each other into deadly clouds of fragments. Marcus slid through the chaos with inches to spare, his freighter scraping hull against stone each time, sparks flying. The hunters followed, but their sleek frames took damage. One clipped, its wing tearing metal away. The child clung to the seat beside him, their voice steady despite the chaos. They will not stop unless you make them. Marcus nodded. I know, kid, hold on. He triggered the release on his cargo bay and dozens of heavy ore containers spilled into the void. They spun wildly across the path behind him. The hunters, too close, too fast, slammed into the unexpected storm. One ship smashed headfirst into a container, the impact shredding its hull, sending it spiraling into a rock explosion, tearing the asteroid apart. Marcus didn't stop, no time to celebrate. He dove deeper through the field, now only two hunters on his tail, plasma fire lighting the rocks around him, every shot closer than the last. Alarm screamed through Defiant, shields failing, engines overheating. Marcus pushed harder, refusing to stop until he saw it ahead. A canyon formed by two massive asteroids locked together in orbit, a narrow slit just wide enough for his freighter but too tight for larger ships. Marcus smiled grimly. That's my door out. He angled Defiance into the canyon, scraping along the walls, sparks showering the cockpit behind him. The hunters slowed, unable to fit their massive hulls through, but they were not giving up. Instead they angled above the canyon, waiting for him to emerge where they could blast him apart. Marcus checked his scanners. The path stretched for miles, no alternate exits. He was running straight into their trap again. The child looked at him, calm eyes glowing. You cannot run forever. Marcus clenched his fists. No, but I can fight. Halfway through the canyon he cut engines, plunging Defiance into darkness. The ship drifted silent like another rock. The hunters above scanned, waiting, but could not see him. Marcus drifted until the walls widened slightly, then he reignited the engines, blasting upward straight into the underbelly of the nearest hunter. Before it could react he fired every weapon, mining lasers, missiles, scrap charges, everything. The explosions ripped across its hull, tearing open fire along its spine. The ship shuddered, broke in half, and collapsed into the canyon wall. The final hunter screamed fury across comms, plasma fire raining down. Marcus rolled Defiance hard, but one shot clipped his wing, tearing metal, shields gone, hull cracked, air hissing, alarms blared across every system. Marcus coughed, smoke filling the cockpit, but he held steady, eyes burning with stubborn fire. The hunter swooped down, chasing close, determined to finish him. Marcus angled toward the canyon exit, knowing the alien ship would line up perfectly for the kill. Then at the last moment he cut his engines again, flipping Defiance sideways, scraping along the rock as the hunter flew past, momentum carrying it too far. Marcus fired his last missile point blank into its rear. The explosion tore through its engines, sending it spinning out into the void before slamming into an asteroid. The impact a silent storm of fire. Silence returned. Marcus leaned back, coughing, every muscle shaking, every system on his ship screaming in pain, but he was alive. The child touched his arm, voice soft. You survived again. Marcus shook his head, voice raw. No, kid, we survived together. Out in the galaxy the news spread faster than light. Once more 3 elite warships destroyed at Titan's edge, not by an army, not by a fleet, but by one human in a patched cargo hauler. The whispers grew louder, the warning sharper. Do not cross the human But in the shadows of distant worlds more hunters began to gather, the Empire's wrath burning hotter than ever. They would not forgive this, they would not stop. Marcus Hale had become more than a pilot, more than a man. He was now a legend, and legends were hunted until they burned out, or until they set the galaxy on fire. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Whispers had turned into shouts. Marcus Hale's name carried across stations, taverns, and war councils alike. Every spacer, every soldier, every smuggler had heard of him, the human who had burned fleets alive with nothing but a battered freighter and raw stubbornness. Some called him insane, some called him cursed, but most called him dangerous, and with danger came profit. The Empire did not hide its rage this time. It broadcasted it across every channel. A message played again and again like a poisoned drumbeat. Marcus Hale is to be captured, dead or alive. Whoever delivers him will be given power, wealth, and dominion. No corner of the stars will deny them the reward. It was a promise designed to lure killers, and it worked. Bounties rose with every passing day. Mercenaries sharpened their blades, assassins loaded their rifles, entire pirate clans restructured fleets to hunt the one man who had defied an empire. The words spread like fire, a new oath sworn in blood across space: bring me the human. Marcus heard it first at a fuel stop. The bar was filled with rough spacers, scarred men and women who lived for violence. The old screens above the counter flickered with news footage, ships destroyed, debris floating endless, and then his name attached to every explosion. A tall, scarred mercenary leaned on the bar beside him, voice loud enough for all to hear. I heard the Empire doubled the bounty again, enough to buy a moon. All we have to do is find him, cut his throat, and take what's ours. The man did not know who he was. Standing beside Marcus lowered his gaze, his hood covering most of his face. He finished his drink quietly. The child sat at the corner of the booth watching silently, their glowing eyes hidden beneath a cloak. Marcus placed a hand on the table, signaling stillness before rising and leaving without a word. They slipped back to Defiance and left orbit before the mercenary ever knew how close his prize had been. But Marcus knew this luck would not last forever. Sooner or later someone would see through the disguise, someone would connect the dots, and when they did there would be no hiding, only war. Inside the cockpit, Marcus stared at the endless dark, his jaw tight, his thoughts heavy. He spoke quietly to the child. They've put a price on me higher than some planets, and it's not just me anymore, it's you too. As long as you're with me, they'll never stop coming. The child tilted their head, eyes glowing faintly. I never asked you to save me. Marcus laughed bitterly. No, you didn't, but I did anyway, and now I'm stuck with you. The child's lips curled in the smallest of smiles. Good, then let them come. Marcus turned back to the controls, anger sharpening his voice. They already swore an oath, kid. Now I'll swear one of my own. They want a hunt, then I'll give them one, but I won't wait for them to strike first, not anymore. I'll bring the fire to them. From that moment everything changed. Marcus began striking first, moving like a ghost across sectors, raiding outposts belonging to the Empire, sabotaging supply convoys, spreading chaos wherever he went. Defiance had been a hauler once, a tired freighter carrying cargo, but Marcus rebuilt it piece by piece, salvaging weapons from the wrecks of hunters he had destroyed, patching shields with alien tech, welding new armor, until Defiance was no longer a freighter, but a beast, armored, scarred, and deadly. Each raid sent new shockwaves across the galaxy. Mercenaries who once saw Marcus as prey now hesitated, fearing they might become his next victims. Ships that cornered him often never returned, their wrecks floating as warnings. Marcus Hale was not running anymore, he was hunting. But the oath of blood was not without cost. Every time Marcus fought, more enemies joined the chase. Bounty hunters came in swarms, fleets of mercenaries cornered him on outer moons. Assassins tried to board Defiance in the dead of night. One by one he cut them down, but each fight carved another scar into his body, into his soul. Sleep grew shorter, dreams darker. The child sometimes woke to hear him whispering curses at the empty stars, as though daring the universe to send more. One night while drifting in the black, the comms picked up a signal, soft and broken. Marcus almost ignored it, but the voice caught him. Captain Hale, we know what they've put on your head, we know they'll never stop, but some of us believe you are right, some of us believe the Empire must fall. Marcus froze, listening closer. The voice was human, rough and tired like an old soldier. The transmission continued, we cannot speak long, but know this, you are not alone, there are others waiting, others ready to fight. Find the ghost beacon near Vega, you'll understand. Marcus sat back, his chest heavy with thought. He had not heard another human voice in weeks, not since Earth cut ties and withdrew from galactic affairs. Most humans stayed out of Empire business, but now someone was reaching out. The child studied him with glowing eyes. Are you going to trust them? Marcus rubbed his face weary. I don't trust anyone, kid, not anymore, but if there are others willing to fight, then maybe, just maybe, we've got a chance. He set course for Vega, though every instinct screamed it was a trap. The oath of blood meant enemies would use any trick to draw him in, but something about the voice lingered in his mind, an echo of old loyalty the kind soldiers carried even after the war ended. When Defiance reached the coordinates, nothing appeared on scanner's empty space, just drifting rock. Marcus cursed under his breath, about to turn away when the child spoke softly. "It is here." Marcus frowned, but followed their pointing hand. A faint shimmer appeared among the rocks, a cloaked station hidden beneath layers of energy distortion. As he approached, codes flickered across his console. "Access granted. Welcome home, Hale." The hidden doors opened and Marcus guided Defiance inside. What he found made his breath catch. An entire fleet of ships, scarred, rusted, but alive, human designs, long forgotten old war frigates hidden away for decades, waiting in silence, and among them men and women in uniform, not mercenaries, not pirates, but soldiers. Their eyes hardened, their stances straight. As Marcus stepped out onto the platform, one older officer saluted him. "Commander Hale, we've been waiting." Marcus blinked, stunned. "I'm no commander." "Not anymore." The officer smiled grimly. "You are now." For the first time, Marcus realized what he had become, not just a hunted man, not just a legend. Weiss, the hidden station, was colder than Marcus expected, its walls lined with dust and old scars from wars long past, but inside there was life, men and women who had waited too long to fight again. They moved with discipline, every soldier carrying the weight of forgotten battles. Their eyes followed Marcus Hale, not with doubt, but with something heavier, hope. He did not want their hope, but it clung to him all the same. The officer who had greeted him introduced himself as Captain Dorian, once a commander in the human fleet before Earth pulled away from the galactic stage. He led Marcus through the halls, speaking in a voice hardened by years of silence. "We stayed hidden while the Empire spread. We hid because Earth ordered it. We hid because humanity was tired of bleeding. But then we heard about you, Hale, about the man who destroyed fleets alone, about the human who refused to bow when everyone else did. We realized our time hiding was over." Marcus said nothing at first, his mind heavy with the memory of those ships he had torn apart, the screams, the fire, the silence that always followed. He had not wanted this, he had wanted peace, but peace had left him the moment he pulled that alien child into his arms. Still, he walked with Dorian into the heart of the station. There it was, an entire fleet waiting in the shadows, hulks of warships lined in rows, some rusted, others patched together with alien technology, but each one bristled with silent promise. Marcus stared at them for a long time, his hand brushing the railing as if to test if they were real. Dorian's voice grew low. "These ships have slept for 20 years, hidden from the Empire. They are old, but they are strong, and with your name, with your fire, the galaxy will remember why it once feared humans." Marcus turned sharply. "I'm no leader, I'm a pilot who got too angry at the wrong time." Dorian's eyes narrowed. That anger lit the stars. "Hale, don't waste it." The child stood beside him, their glowing eyes tracing the ships without fear. They spoke softly, but their voice carried in the cold chamber. "They will come for you whether you lead or not, Marcus. The Empire will never forgive you. The hunters will never stop. You must choose, fight with them or die alone." Marcus clenched his fists, staring at the child, then at the fleet. Finally he gave a sharp nod, his voice low. "Then we fight." The days that followed were not easy. Marcus learned the fleet was barely functional, engines, cold reactors, unstable weapons, dusty from decades of silence, but humans were stubborn creatures, and the soldiers worked day and night, patching, welding, charging every spark of power they could find. Marcus worked among them, his hands scarred, his voice hoarse, yelling commands at failing engines, sleeping on steel floors with the rest. He felt alive again in a way he had not since the first war. He had seen the work kept him sharp, but deep down he knew it was only a matter of time before the Empire found them. Ped in fear, he was the spark of something larger, something the Empire had never wanted to face before. Humanity united, not for defense, but for vengeance. The oath of blood sworn against him had forged him into a weapon, and now others were ready to follow. The child stood beside him, quiet, eyes burning bright. Marcus looked down at them, voice low. "They wanted a war, kid, now they'll get one." He raised his head toward the fleet, his voice steady, strong. "We will not run, we will not bow, we will show them why they should never have crossed a human." And across the hidden station the soldiers cheered, their voices echoing through steel halls, a sound that promised fire across the stars. The oath of blood had been answered with an oath of defiance, and the galaxy would never be the same again, and they did. It began with faint tremors in the long-range scanners, ships gathering at the edge of Vega, hundreds of them, mercenary fleets answering the bounty call, warlords eager for glory, Empire soldiers ready to bathe the stars in fire. Marcus stood at the command deck staring at the reports, Dorian's face grim beside him. "They found us," he said flatly. Marcus nodded. "Of course they have. The Empire always finds its prey." Dorian's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then let's make sure they regret it." Defiance was at the center of it all. Marcus had rebuilt her piece by piece, but now he pushed further, cannibalizing parts from the hidden station, stripping weapons from broken frigates, until Defiance was something else entirely. No longer a cargo hauler, no longer just a freighter. She was reborn, a warship forged in desperation, armored to the teeth, bristling with cannons. She was ugly, scarred, and dangerous. Marcus smiled at her as if greeting an old friend. "Welcome back, girl." The child sat in the captain's chair while Marcus tested the new systems, their voice calm despite the storm gathering around them. They are afraid of you. Marcus shook his head. They should be afraid of what's coming next. When the mercenary fleets arrived, they did not attack at once. They circled like predators in the dark, hundreds of ships forming a cage around the hidden station, every comms channel filled with the same message: Marcus hail, surrender the child you carry, and your death will be swift. Resist, and you will be erased. Marcus listened to the threats, then cut the channel. Silence filled the command deck, his crew watching him, waiting. Marcus finally spoke, steady, cold. If they want me, let them come and bleed. For at the first wave struck, fast, sleek fighters darting through the dark, raining plasma across the station's shields. Explosions lit the void. Marcus launched Defiance forward, cannons blazing, cutting through the first formation like fire through paper. His ship shook with every hit, but she held together stronger than he expected. The soldiers in the other frigates followed, roaring into battle. After years of silence, their war cries filled the comms: we fight for Earth, we fight for freedom. The void erupted into chaos, dozens of ships colliding, beams tearing through steel. Marcus moved like a predator in defiance, using the asteroids around Vega as cover, weaving between rocks, then striking hard from shadows. Each time another mercenary ship burst apart in flame, but for every one destroyed, two more appeared. The enemy numbers endless. The bounty had drawn half the galaxy against him. Inside the cockpit, alarms screamed, shields collapsing, engines overheating. Marcus barked orders. His crew, scrambling, the child clung to the seat, their eyes wide yet calm. Marcus shouted over the noise, hold together, damn it, hold together. He rolled the ship hard, dodging a missile that grazed their wing, tearing metal sparks flooding the deck. They fought for hours, maybe days, time lost meaning in the endless storm of fire. Marcus barely slept, barely breathed, his world reduced to the glow of targeting screens, the tremor of cannons, the scream of engines around him. Ships died, friends burned, enemies shattered, the dark filled with wrecks, but still they fought. At the height of the battle, Marcus saw it, a massive Empire warship sliding into the fray, larger than anything he had ever faced, its hull bristling with weapons, its shadow swallowing asteroids whole. The soldiers on comms faltered, their voices tinged with fear. Dorian whispered, a curse, that's a dreadnought. Marcus tightened his grip on the controls, his jaw set. If they want a reckoning, then let's give them one. Defiance roared forward, straight at the giant guns blazing, every cannon firing. Marcus weaved through its barrage, each shot large enough to erase him. The dreadnought loomed closer, its shields unbroken, its weapons endless, but Marcus did not slow. He pushed harder, closer, until he could almost see the scars along its hull. The child's voice rang clear beside him, strike the heart. Marcus trusted them, slammed the controls, and fired the last missile directly into the glowing vent near its core. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the dreadnought shook, its shields flickered, sparks burst across its surface, until finally the giant split apart in a storm of fire, the explosion lighting the void brighter than a sun. The comms erupted in cheers, soldiers screaming victory, but Marcus did not cheer. He sat back, gasping, his body shaking, his eyes burning with exhaustion. Around him wreckage floated endless, the field of battle littered with the dead. Still more ships gathered in the distance. The war was not over, not even close. Marcus looked at the child, whose glowing eyes watched him without fear, their voice quiet yet sharp. This is only the beginning. Marcus Hale nodded, his voice hoarse and heavy. I know, kid, but it's a beginning they'll never forget. And so the legend grew stronger across the stars, whispers turning into roars. The human who destroyed a dreadnought, the human who built a ghost fleet from nothing, the human they should never have crossed. The galaxy was restless. The war at Vega had torn open wounds that had been hidden for too long. Entire sectors whispered of the battle, the sight of a lone human ship tearing apart a dreadnought carried across every comm channel, every secret network. Marcus Hale had gone from fugitive to symbol, the human they should never have crossed. But symbols drew fire just as quickly as they drew followers, and Marcus knew it would not be long before the Empire struck back harder than ever. The hidden station was alive with noise, soldiers rushing, engineers welding, sparks flying across the hangars. The ghost fleet was no longer silent, its engines rumbled, its weapons hummed with power. Marcus stood at the center of it, all his face lined with exhaustion, his body scarred, but his eyes burning bright. Captain Dorian walked beside him, reading reports grimly. The Empire has called a full council meeting, Marcus. Every major species, every warlord, they mean to make an example of you. Marcus grunted. They've been trying since the start. Dorian shook his head. No, this time they will put all their weight behind it. They want to crush not only you but every human who dares to rise. Marcus stared out at the fleet, his jaw tight, then said quietly, then we won't wait for them to decide our fate, we'll bring the fight to their council. Dorian blinked, startled. Are you insane? The council world is the most defended system in the galaxy. It's suicide. Marcus's mouth curled into a thin smile. Maybe, but suicide with purpose sometimes rattles the stars more than silence ever could. The child appeared at his side, their glowing eyes calm. They spoke softly but with a strength that carried through the hangar. The council already decided my death long before you, Marcus Hale. They sent hunters to erase me, and through me erase the chance of change. Marcus looked at them heavy with thought, then nodded. You're right, kid. They need to hear the truth from us, not from the Empire's lies. The plan was madness, even Marcus knew it. The Ghost Fleet was small, scarred from Vega, half its ships barely holding together, but they prepared anyway. They plotted routes through unguarded sectors, used stealth tech stolen from wrecks, and timed their attack to the moment the council convened. Marcus spent nights without sleep staring at maps, calculating risks, knowing the odds were impossible. Still he pressed on. When the day came, the fleet moved, silent shadows slipping through dark space. The closer they came to the council system, the heavier the defenses became. Drones, patrols, war fleets, but somehow Marcus led them through every gap, every blind spot, his instincts guiding him like a predator through the hunt, until finally the council world filled the viewport, a shining planet wrapped in rings of defense platforms, fleets circling like vultures, cities glowing across its surface. The soldiers on comms whispered curses, some in awe, some in fear. Marcus's voice cut through steady calm. We're not here to destroy a planet, we're here to tell the truth. Hold your fire until I give the word, but be ready if they decide to silence us with guns. Defiance pushed forward, leading the fleet straight through the outer defenses. Alarms blared across enemy channels, ships swarmed to intercept, but Marcus opened every broadcast channel across the system, his voice booming across the stars. This is Marcus Hale, the human you swore to erase. I come not to beg and not to bow, but to speak the truth. Your council has hidden a child, hunted across the galaxy for the crime of being born. They sent fleets to kill her, they destroyed worlds, to bury their lies, and they failed. The council chambers on the planet below erupted, chaos filling their halls. Leaders of dozens of species shouted at one another, some demanding his execution, others demanding proof. Marcus continued calm as stone. You wanted me silenced, you wanted humans broken, but I am still here, and I will not run. If you call yourselves just, then hear me. If you call yourselves rulers, then face me. The child stepped into view of the broadcast, their small frame, their glowing eyes filling every screen across the system. They spoke in their trembling yet powerful voice. I am the air you hunted, I am the voice you tried to kill. The Empire ordered my death because they feared what I would mean to the stars, but I live and I will not hide. For a moment silence spread across the system. Soldiers, mercenaries, council members, even civilians across 1,000 colonies watched the transmission, the Empire's lies unraveling in real time. But silence never lasted long. The Empire's voice thundered across the channel, a towering alien with scales of steel and eyes like fire. Your words are nothing, Marcus Hale. Your rebellion is nothing. We will erase you here and now. And the first shots were fired. Empire warships descended in formation, weapons blazing their fury, tearing through the void. The Ghost Fleet scattered, shields flaring. Marcus roared commands, pulling defiance into the thick of it. The battle ignited instantly, chaos exploding across the system. Dorian shouted over comms, this is madness, Hale. We can't hold them. Marcus's voice came back sharp. Hold them long enough for the galaxy to see who fires first. Let them watch the Empire burn its lies in front of their own council. The battle raged, defiance darting through enemy fire, cannons blazing, cutting through ships larger and stronger but slower. Marcus fought like a man possessed, weaving through gaps, unleashing everything. The Ghost Fleet had the Council's defense. Fleets hesitated, split between obeying Empire orders and questioning the truth. Spreading across their screens, whole species began breaking ranks, some ships turning their weapons on the Empire, others fleeing. Chaos fractured what was once order. In the council chamber itself, leaders screamed at one another, their unity shattered. Some called for Hale's death, others demanded the Empire stand trial. The great alliance that had ruled for centuries began to crumble, lived before the galaxy's eyes. Marcus's gamble was working, but at a price. Ships of the Ghost Fleet fell one by one, friends burning in silence, wreckage scattering across the stars. Marcus watched every loss, his jaw tight, his chest heavy, but he pushed forward. At the height of the battle, defiance broke through the enemy line, diving straight toward the council planet. Marcus ignored the warnings, the alarms, the fire streaking across his hull. He forced the ship lower until the chamber itself filled the viewport. Dorian's voice cried out on comms, Hale, what are you doing? Marcus growled, ending this, and cut the channel. He opened one last broadcast, his face blooded, smoke curling around him, his voice steady. This is what it means to cross a human. You thought I would crawl, you thought I would bow, you thought I would die quietly, but here I stand in the heart of your empire, alive, defiant, unbroken. You can kill me today, you can tear my ship apart, but the truth will live on in every whisper, in every system. You will never bury it again. The child stepped beside him, their glowing eyes burning. They cannot kill us both, Marcus, because even if they try, the stars will remember. Marcus placed a hand on their shoulder, his voice low, then let's make sure they never forget. The Empire warships closed in, weapons locked, Defiance surrounded, but in that moment something shifted. The Council's fleets, once bound in obedience, turned their guns on the Empire ships. Entire species refusing to fire on Marcus, refusing to let the truth die. Open war erupted, not between Marcus and the galaxy, but between the Empire and those who had finally seen through its lies. Defiance roared upward through the chaos, Marcus weaving through the storm of betrayal and fire, the Empire still gunning for him, but now split, fighting on all sides. The Council world burned, not from Marcus's weapons, but from its own fractured alliance. He had not destroyed it with bombs, he had shattered it with truth. Hours later, when the battle finally waned, when the wrecks floated endless and the stars grew quiet, Marcus sat slumped in his chair, his ship scarred, his body broken, but his spirit alive. The child stood beside him, silent, their small hand resting on his arm. Together they looked out at the fractured fleet, some loyal to the Empire, some breaking away, the galaxy forever changed. Marcus whispered, hoarse but firm, "They thought they could erase me, they thought they could erase you, but all they did was light a fire that will never go out." The child's glowing eyes met his, and for the first time Marcus saw not just fear in them but hope. And so the legend of the human they should never have crossed grew sharper, deadlier and louder than ever before, not just a story whispered in the dark, but a storm tearing the galaxy apart, one truth at a time. The Council world was in ruins, fires burned in the sky, wreckage of fleets drifted like broken bones across the void. Silence fell heavy over the survivors, silence that was not peace but shock. A pause before the storm. Marcus Hale stood on the deck of Defiance, staring at the holographic map. Before him the Empire still held most of the galaxy, but now their grip was cracked. Fleets had defected, colonies whispered rebellion, and for the first time in centuries fear crept into the hearts of the rulers. Captain Dorian leaned on the railing, his face pale and tired. "You've done it, Marcus, you lit the fire. The Empire will never put it out." Marcus shook his head. "No, we've only begun. They will come back harder, and when they do it won't just be me they'll want gone. It will be every human, every ally who dares to stand." The child sat in the corner, their glowing eyes dim with exhaustion, but their voice steady. "They will not stop until one of us is gone, Marcus, not until I am erased, or until the Empire itself falls." Marcus turned to them, his jaw set. "Then it falls." The Ghost Fleet limped into hiding. What was left of it barely half survived. Vega and the Council world together, their numbers shrank even more. Engineers worked day and night, patching hulls, rerouting power, but everyone knew repairs could only delay the inevitable. The Empire was already rebuilding faster than anyone thought possible, whole shipyards turning night into day, war machines pouring out by the thousands. And so Marcus prepared. He sent out secret calls to distant colonies, hidden bases, even the broken outcasts of alien empires who had nothing left to lose. Some ignored him, some mocked him, but others answered. They came in small numbers, raiders, smugglers, deserters, but they came because they had seen a human stand against the impossible and live. Every night Marcus sat alone in his cabin, staring at the scars on his hands, his mind heavy with ghosts. He remembered every face, every soldier lost, every ally who had followed him into fire. He felt the weight of them pressing down, but he also felt something else, a steady burning inside, the same fire that had carried him through Vega, through the Council world, and it told him he could not stop now, not while the Empire still breathed. One night alarms tore through the station, red lights flashing, Defiance jolted awake. Marcus rushed to the bridge, soldiers shouted over one another, "The Empire, they found us." Marcus froze, then barked out orders, "Scatter the fleet, get them to fallback points." No hesitation. Dorian glanced at him. "But what about you?" Marcus's eyes hardened. "We'll buy them time." Empire warships poured into the system, massive engines burning, weapons glowing, ready to crush the remnants of the Ghost Fleet. Defiance led the charge head-on. Marcus refused to retreat. Beams of fire ripped through space, explosions shaking the void. The child gripped the chair beside Marcus, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. Marcus growled, "Hold steady, make them bleed for every inch." The battle raged, chaos consuming everything, but as Defiance danced through the fire, Marcus realized something strange. The Empire wasn't pressing their full strength, they were probing, testing, hunting for something, and then it hit him. They weren't after the fleet, they were after the child. Marcus cursed under his breath. "They don't care if we live or die, they only want you." The child's eyes met his, calm but sad. "Then we must make sure they never take me." Marcus shook his head fiercely. "No. They'll only get you over my corpse." But the Empire had prepared for this moment. From the chaos a new ship emerged, larger than any Marcus had ever seen, black as night, its hull alive with strange energy. Every sensor screamed warnings as it cut through the void. Empire comms roared across every channel. "Marcus Hale, surrender the child, and your suffering ends. Resist, and your species burns." Marcus's hand tightened on the controls, his voice low, steady. "I don't surrender, not now, not ever." He cut the channel, raised Defiance's guns, and fired. Everything at once. The black ship's shields shimmered, bending. Under the assault but not breaking, its response was swift, a single beam ripping through the void, striking defiance with such force alarms screamed, panels exploded, soldiers thrown across the bridge, smoke filled the air. Marcus held the controls, teeth gritted, but his ship was dying. Dorian staggered forward, shouting, "Marcus, we can't fight that thing, it'll tear us apart." Marcus growled, "We'll find a way, we always do," but deep down he knew this was different. The child stepped forward, their eyes blazing brighter than ever. Marcus felt the air grow heavy around them. The ship itself hummed as if alive. They spoke in a voice that carried like thunder. "This is what they feared, not you, Marcus, not even me. But what happens when we stand together?" The black ship turned its fire again, preparing to finish defiance, but before it could, the child raised their hands, and a wave of light burst outward, pure energy slamming into the Empire vessel. Its shields shattered, sparks tearing across its hull. The monstrous ship reeled back for the first time ever. Marcus stared in shock, his voice hoarse. "Kid, what did you just do?" The child trembled, their small body shaking, but their eyes still burning. "I did what they never wanted me to do. I stopped running." The Empire ship recovered, its guns turning again, but the child raised their hands once more, light surging stronger. Marcus felt his ship systems feeding into it like every spark, every reactor was answering their call. Defiance roared forward, cutting through the Empire lines. The black ship staggered, unable to withstand the storm the child unleashed, and in one blinding flash it broke apart, torn into 1,000 burning shards across the void. The Ghost Fleet screamed in victory, soldiers shouting across comms, but Marcus only stared at the child, their small frames slumped, their glow dimming. Marcus caught them before they fell, his voice fierce, "Kids, stay with me, you hear me? Don't you quit on me now." Their eyes flickered, weak but steady. "They will come again, Marcus, stronger than ever." Marcus clenched his jaw, "Then we'll be stronger too." When the fleet finally escaped, when silence fell, Marcus sat alone in the medbay, the child lying unconscious beside him, machines humming faintly. He stared at their face, a strange mix of innocence and power, and he realized the truth. The Empire wasn't just afraid of what the child was, they were afraid of what the child could become, and now Marcus was too, but he also knew he would never let them fall, not to the Empire, not to anyone. Across the galaxy, the Empire reeled from the loss of their black ship, but they wasted no time. New fleets were already being built, stronger, faster, more merciless. Leaders of entire systems swore vengeance against humanity, against Marcus Hale, against the child. The galaxy stood at the edge of all-out war. And in the shadows whispers spread, whispers of a human who would not bow, of a child who burned with power, of a fire that no one could put out. Marcus knew the final storm was coming. The Empire would not stop until they had crushed him completely, but he would not stop either. He had one fleet, one child, one chance, and he would carry it to the end, no matter the cost. The stars outside glimmered cold and endless, but Marcus Hale stared into them unflinching and whispered into the silence, "Let them come, we'll show them again why humanity should never be crossed." The galaxy was burning, the Empire had unleashed its full fury, fleets poured into every rebellious system, crushing resistance with fire and steel. Planets were bombarded, cities reduced to ash, the void itself seemed to shake with the rage of a dying power. Marcus Hale watched it all unfold from the bridge of defiance, his face carved with lines of exhaustion, his eyes lit with grim fire. The final storm had come, and there was no running from it now. The Ghost Fleet had grown, but not enough. Desperate allies had come from forgotten corners of space, ragged warbands, ancient ships patched together with hope and stubbornness. They were brave, but against the Empire's armadas they were blades of grass in a hurricane. Marcus knew this, but he also knew one thing more: the Empire was afraid of the child, and fear made even giants stumble. The child lay in the medbay, recovering from the terrible power they had unleashed, their glow faint but steady. Marcus visited them each night. He would sit by their side and whisper promises even though they slept, promises that he would never let them fall, promises that he would finish this fight no matter the cost. One night the child stirred, their eyes opening, weak but determined. "Marcus, they will keep coming, they will never stop until either I am gone or the Empire is." Marcus gripped their small hand. "Then the Empire ends." Council remnants contacted Marcus in secret. Leaders who once betrayed him now begged for his help. The Empire was devouring them too. They had thought siding with power would save them, but the Empire consumed even its own. Marcus listened to their pleas, and for a moment he considered turning them away, but then he remembered Earth, he remembered humanity standing alone when no one believed they mattered. He remembered what it felt like to be left behind, so he answered them, "We will fight together, but you will fight under one banner, and this time it will not be the Empire's." The plan was madness, even Marcus admitted it. The Ghost Fleet, the scattered rebels, and the broken council forces would strike not at the Empire's fleets, not at its colonies, but at the heart of it all, the throne world itself, a planet no one had ever dared touch. Its defenses were legendary, its armadas endless, but Marcus knew the truth: the Empire's power was not in its fleets, it was in its fear. If they shattered the throne world, they would shatter the myth, and myths were stronger than steel. The day of reckoning came. The fleet gathered in the dark void, tens of thousands of ships, most small, most fragile, but together they filled the stars, engines burning like fireflies before a storm. Marcus stood on the bridge of Defiance, his crew silent, watching him, waiting for his words. His voice rang out steady and hard. The Empire thinks they are gods, they think we are dust, but today we show them we are fire, we are storm, we are the end of their rule. They should never have crossed humanity, and today they learn why. The fleet roared forward, engines igniting as one. The throne world appeared before them, vast and glowing, a fortress wrapped in 1,000 rings of steel. Defenses lit the void as the Empire unleashed hell. Entire waves of enemy ships poured from the shadows, their guns tearing into the rebel lines. Explosions lit the dark, screams filled the comms, but still Marcus pushed forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. Stay the course, we break through or we die trying. Defiance led the charge, weaving through fire beams slicing across its hull. Marcus felt every impact, but he refused to flinch. The child stood beside him, their glow growing brighter by the moment. They raised their hands and shields shimmered around the fleet, bursts of light cutting through the Empire's walls of fire. Marcus shouted louder, push harder, no turning back. The battle turned into slaughter, ships burned on both sides, screams echoed through the stars, but the rebel fleet did not stop. They cut through line after line, closer and closer to the throne world itself. Marcus knew they would never survive by guns alone, so he gambled. He aimed Defiance straight at the planetary shield, the impenetrable wall no one had ever breached before, and he rammed every reactor, every ounce of power into one desperate strike. Defiance hit like a star, igniting the shield, rippled sparks exploding across the void. For a moment it held, and Marcus thought they had failed, but then the child's eyes blazed brighter than suns, their voice booming across the comms, not just to the fleet, but to every corner of the battlefield. You will not chain me anymore. Light burst outward from them, pouring into Defiance, pouring into the fleet, pouring into the stars themselves. The shield shattered in a storm of brilliance. The throne world lay exposed. A roar swept through the rebel forces. They surged forward, slamming into the planet's defenses, raining fire upon the Empire's seat of power. But the Empire would not fall so easily. From the surface a new terror rose, a colossal warship unlike any before, black as night, vast as a continent, its weapons charged with energies older than the Empire itself. This was their final weapon, the doom they had saved for the end. Marcus stared at it, unblinking, his voice low and hard. That's the beast, we kill it or we die here. The child stepped forward, their body trembling with power. Marcus looked at them, fierce. Kid, you don't have to do this alone. The child met his eyes steady. No Marcus, I don't, I have you. Defiance turned toward the monster ship, every gun blazing, every engine burning. The fleet followed in its wake, rebels and council ships pouring fire into the black behemoth. The Empire vessel answered with storms of death. Ships were torn apart by the dozen, screams filled the air. The void itself seemed to collapse under the fury, but still the rebels fought, still they pushed closer. Marcus felt his ship breaking apart around him. Alarms screamed, flames tore through corridors, but he stood unflinching, his hands steady on the controls. He shouted across the comms, all ships on me, we finish this together. The child raised their hands, their glow now a blazing sun. Every ship around them felt it, power surging through their veins, reactors burning brighter, weapons striking harder. Even as they died they struck back harder still. The black behemoth staggered under the storm, its hull cracking, its weapons faltering, but it was not enough. It prepared one final strike, a blast that would wipe out the fleet. Marcus saw it coming, and in that moment he made his choice. He turned to the child, his voice fierce, this is it, kid, one last blow together. The child nodded, their eyes blazing, then let's end it. Defiance charged, engines screaming, its nose aimed straight at the monster ship. Marcus poured every drop of power into the reactors. The child unleashed their full light, brighter than any star. Together they became a spear of fire cutting through the void. They struck the black ship head-on, and in one blinding explosion it broke apart, shattered into fragments, burning across the throne world below. The light faded, silence filled the void. The monster was gone, the throne world lay in ruins. The Empire's heart torn out. Across the comms came silence, then whispers, then shouts of victory. 1,000 voices crying out, the Empire is broken, the Empire is broken. Defiance drifted in the wreckage, its hull shattered, its systems failing. Marcus lay on the bridge, smoke and fire around him, his vision fading. He turned his head, the child was beside him, still glowing, faint but alive, their small hand reaching for his. Marcus smiled weakly, his voice a whisper, we did it, kid. The child's eyes closed, their voice soft, we did it together. Across the galaxy the news spread faster than light. The throne world destroyed, the Empire shattered, systems rose in rebellion, chains fell, worlds that had been slaves for centuries breathed free air for the first time, and in every whisper, every story, one name echoed, Marcus Hale, the human they should never have crossed. No one knew if Marcus survived. Some swore they saw Defiance drift into the shadows, others believed he died in the blaze, but all agreed on one thing, his fire had not gone out. It lived in every world that now dared to fight, it lived in every rebel who raised their head and swore never again, it lived in the child whose power was now legend, it lived in humanity. And in the endless dark of space a single voice seemed to echo forever, let them come, we will never bow, we are human and we are the fire that never dies.